The following program is rated 14 plus and is not intended for younger audiences. It includes violence, nudity, and mature subject matter. Please know the music in this project is not owned by SC Entertainment. The music belongs to its rightful owners and artists. Viewer discretion is advised. Mrs. Casher stands at the window as we hear it raining outside, as we hear Jin asks, "Everything is set in motion. Once they arrive, everything should go off without a hitch." Gabby and Casey are driving as she says, "Hey, you know what I said before about us being over? I never really said we could never, maybe, do something." Casey says, No, it's fine." Gabby says, "Well, my offer's open, officer." Casey smiles and says, "Alright, how's this? If we survive tonight, I'll take you to dinner this weekend. I think with everything we've been through, we deserve a break, don't you think?" As we see the cop cars all stop, as they get out, as Gabby and Casey and a bunch of officers step in front of the vehicles, as Gabby then asks one of the cops, "What the hell? This just happened?" We see a massive tree lying in the middle of the road. The officer says, "Alright, we'll move it." One of the officers then laughs and says, "It's always a challenge. Maybe this is the universe telling us to take a break." I mean, we truly are. Out of nowhere, a massive explosion goes off as we see multiple officers go down. We see black smoke as we see Gabby getting up slowly. She coughs as we see she looks panicked as she then sees a few officers are dead. One of them is still moving, as we see blood all over the ground. As we see his arm has been blown off. We see the other one has both of his legs blown off as he is trying to move. As we see the officers are suffering. Gabby looks horrified as she looks around, as she then yells, "Casey! Casey!" We see Casey on the ground. As he gets up, Gabby helps him as she says, "Are you okay?" Casey says, Yeah, I think so." We see a few men in the shadows at the top of the hill in the woods, as they then start shooting at both of them, as we see they are both trying to kill them, as Gabby then radios in, "This is Officer Gabby. I repeat, this is Officer Gabby. We need backup now. We need backup now." As we hear, "We're about 20 minutes out. We'll be there as soon as we can." As we see, Gabby looks frustrated as she knows they don't have that kind of time. As Casey says, "We can't wait that long. We can't." As they then decide to make a run for it together. Later on, we see they've been running for a while, as Casey says, We need to stop." We then see a barn from far, as Gabby says, Okay, we'll stop now." They enter this barn as they shut it tight, as Casey then falls, as Gabby says, "They're tracking us. This is not good, Casey. Whatever that woman told me, she was a goddamn liar, and this was a fucking ambush. But of course, me being an officer of the law, I have to go after these fucking people." Casey? Casey? Casey then looks real bad as he's turning pale, as she then says, "Hey, you okay?" But then we see blood coming through Casey's shirt as we see Casey has been badly hit. Gabby says, No. Casey looks scared and says, "I don't want to die. I don't want to fucking die." Gabby says, You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. I'll get you out of here, okay?" Casey then smiles and says, "Hey, at least if I die, well, this ain't the worst view in the world. I'll gladly die on this." Gabby then looks at him and says, "Don't think about dying. You're gonna be fine." But then we see a bunch of these men surround the barn with their guns as we hear, "Give up." Gabby then pulls out her gun and says, "You're not gonna die. I'm not gonna die. Fuck this. And fuck this fucking family." As Gabby stands there defending Casey and herself, as she stands there ready to go down fighting.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. My mother was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans.
We see Alisa running through the woods in the rain. As we then see, she backs up behind a tree as we see a bunch of Pirellos with flashlights looking for her, as they all have their guns out as they're trying to track her down. Alisa then backs up and says, "Never again. Never again." As she keeps repeating this to herself again. "Never again. Never again. Never fucking again. Please." But then someone's flashlight then shines on her directly as we see she's been spotted, as she then quickly starts running away as she runs for her life. Flashback to Nashville, 1948. We see Alisa waking up in a nice fancy bedroom as she sees the sunrise as she walks out. We hear classical music playing as we see Silo walks up to her and says, "Jane, nice to see you up and about. Right this way." We see Vito sitting in his big fancy living room as he says, "Hey, you're finally awake." Alisa says, "I don't even know how to begin to thank you for what you've done. If you hadn't got me out of there, I don't even know if I'd be alive right now. Vito says, it's no worries at all. You're welcome to stay as long as you like, alright? Now, if you want to go, that's alright too. We'll have a car ready. You're not a prisoner here, alright? I just want to make that clear. Although if you want to leave, we're going to have to get you to sign some papers, alright? Nothing too crazy, just something simplistic, alright? I know a guy that's going to help you get a whole new name. You're changing your name, your ID, and anything that tracks back to the fact that your name is Jane Perello. It's just strictly for your safety, okay? We don't want these people finding you, Alisa says. So after I sign, I'm no longer Jane Perello? Who will I be? Vito says, anything you want to be. The choice is yours, alright? Nobody's pressuring you. Alisa looks shocked by this and says, I know mob bosses. My dad made me talk to many of them over the years. Why are you so nice to me? What are you getting in return of all of this? Come on, there's got to be an ulterior motive. Vito says, no, nothing at all. I'm giving you a chance to get away from your father and get your own life on your own terms. Alisa says, I'm not even sure how I'm going to go about doing any of that. My life is the mob. It's all I've ever known. I don't really know how to imagine it any other way. Vito looks happy hearing this and says, well, I'm not going to turn you down there. We got you out of there the other night, and by the looks of it, they're going to think you died. I saw your cellar was burning on our way out. So the men, including your father, are going to think that you died out there. Everybody that remains is going to think you died. If there's anybody even still alive. Alisa says, alright, I'll sign the papers. But I don't want to be on my own here. Vito says, well, what about your mother? The whole reason I brought you here is so you could maybe reconnect. Alisa says, I don't think you'd want to meet her. Half the time, she's not even there. She's a major drug addict and alcoholic. Half the time, she doesn't even pay attention to me. But she's a hell of a lot better than my father is. All I'm saying here, Mr. Casher, is that there's a reason that I left with my father. Willingly. In hindsight, I made a mistake. But I see why I did it still. Vito says, hey look, you got a lot of personal shit to deal with, okay? I can tell. And that's frankly none of my business. But with your new name and this new persona that we're going to give you, there is no chance in the world that anybody is going to believe that you aren't dead. She looks at him and says, Alisa. Vito says, what? Alisa says, Alisa Casher. That's my name. Vito says, Casher? Damn, you're really wanting this, aren't you? Alisa says, if you don't mind. It's not that I want this, it's just I don't know how else to go about not being in the mob. That's what I grew up with. So much of my life is changing, I honestly don't see a reason for that part to change. And besides, I like a family to fall back on. With everything you did for me, the least I could do is serve you. And you're not like most Dons. I have a feeling my life would be a hell of a lot better serving you than it was serving my father. Plus, anything with my new name and my new everything could go wrong. And you people did more for me last night than my family ever did for me my whole life. Don Casher, I owe you my life. Vito smiles and says, no you don't. But I gave you freedom for a reason. So if that's what you wish, then I will have you in my family. Now I'll have you know, this is going to be complicated. I have a son as well. He's a little bit older than you. He's currently right now trying to get into the police academy, though he did say he wanted a sister. Alisa says, well, I'd love to meet him. As she smiles, as we then see, Alisa joins the Casher family. Back with Marty and the others. We see Johnny driving fast as Dario says, turn right, turn right! As they turn right, as they drive down the road, you see the roads are slippery as Johnny has to be very careful. Carlos then tells his guy driving, keep it steady! As he pokes his head out the window, as he pulls out a gun and starts firing at Marty and the others in the other car. Dario points his gun behind him as he fires a few shots back. As we see Stella on the right side with her gun out, as she fires at these guys, as she shoots one through the window, blood sprays all over Carlos as he looks pissed. As Carlos then speeds up very quickly, as he rams into our group's vehicle, as Johnny is trying to stay on the road, as we see Carlos then backs up a bit, as he then smashes into Johnny's vehicle again, as they go into the ditch. as we then see Marty is thrown from the vehicle. Carlos looks happy seeing this, as we then see the car is totaled. He looks at himself in the mirror, as he is covered in blood, as he laughs and says, "Okay, gentlemen, let's kill what remains. We'll explain to the Don later." Marty then runs up the hill as he then starts shooting at Carlos and his men, as he fires and he kills the rest of his men. As we then see Marty runs out of bullets, as we then see it's just Carlos left. Carlos looks mad now as he pulls the trigger, but it's empty. He then says, "Huh, interesting. It's like it was fate that this all came down to you and me." As they get ready to fight each other, Carlos then throws a punch towards Marty. Marty ducks and punches Carlos twice, as Carlos then punches back, as they both punch each other back and forth, as Carlos then says, "Oh, too slow, Martin. You weren't always the best fighter." Marty then says, "Yeah, at least when I took the Omerta, at least I didn't cheat the fucking system. I took it because I earned it. You took it because you were nothing but a silver-tongued fucking liar." He punches Carlos again. Carlos then tackles him into the ditch as they are both wrestling with each other, as Marty then kicks Carlos in the leg as he goes down. But then Carlos gets the best of him as he smashes Marty's head into the ground, as Marty then sits there covered in blood as he starts coughing. As we see, Marty is down, as Carlos then walks back up to the vehicle, as he grabs a spare gun he had, as he says, "I really never meant for it to be personal, Marty. You and me together, we made one hell of a team, you and me, you know that? Unfortunately, our Dons are never going to see eye to eye with each other. Too many goddamn personal relationships around here. That means that you and me will never see eye to eye. No man left behind, Marty. I'm sorry." But then we see taillights approaching, as we see Harold and Vito riding in, as Harold fires at Carlos, as Carlos sees them coming in, as Vito then rams the car into him, knocking Carlos down, as the vehicle crushes Carlos's legs. Vito then gets out and says, "Go! Our people are down there, come on!" Harold gets out to check on our people, as he opens the door, as Johnny gets out, as Harold says, "You guys okay?" Johnny says, "Oh yeah, just old and rusty, that's all. And besides, nothing will kill this old man in the dead city." Stella and Dario come out from the sides, as Stella says, "Well, we got Marty back, as you can see. What happened to you?" Harold says, "We came looking. Well, the Don did, at least." We see Carlos crawling beside the car, as we see his head is bleeding precisely. As we see him crawling, as he tries pulling out a gun, but Vito steps on his legs as he drops it. Carlos looks pissed as Vito says, "Get up." He forces Carlos to sit on his knees with his broken legs, as we then see Dario sees this as he holds Carlos down. Vito looks at Carlos as he says, "I brought you into my family. You took the Omerta for me. I trusted you like a son. And here all that was a painful lie, wasn't it?" Yeah, that's exactly what the fuck it was. Carlos looks kind of worried as he says, "You want me to beg? Is that what you want?" Vito then shoots Carlos in the head, ending his life, as he says, "You force people to their knees, but you fucking died on yours." He walks away as he looks at Marty and says, "You okay?" Marty says, Yeah, I think so. But Paulie, he told me that if I didn't do this for him, he would kill my wife." Vito says, No, it's alright. She's safe, alright? I got some of my guys watching her." Marty says, "Well, your daughter, she's still there. He may kill her too, I don't fucking know." Vito says, "What happened to my daughter, Marty? Just tell me." Marty says, "She's alive, Don, as far as I know. Being held at a place off the water about 20 miles out from here. It's a bit of a ride, but we know where they are. Vito looks happy as he looks at Harold and says, I said it. I knew my instincts were right. Dario says, all right, so what do we do, Don? Johnny says, fuck them. This is my recommendation. Here I thought we couldn't. Truth is, this is all we needed. We have Marty Boy in our possession here to tell us exactly where they are. Stella says, well, I'm in. Marty says, I'm in too. I can drive. Harold says, so am I. Vito says, look, Harold, you're an officer of the law. Harold says, I think after everything that's gone down the last few days, I don't think I'm going to be returning back to the force. Not to mention, I think my adoptive old man could use the help. My sister, too. Vito says, all right, let's dump these bodies first. Carlos is one of his biggest. We need to leave it where they don't find them. At least until this is all over. Marty, you drive. You're going to take us to where we can get rid of the evidence, and then we're going to do what we should have done from the very fucking beginning. Let's kill these motherfuckers. The Pirellos won't live to see the crack of dawn. Back at the mansion, we see Paulie and his men getting the boats ready as Paulie says, okay, let's get the rest loaded up here. Hey, you two, go get my daughter. But then we see a few men running up to him as the guy says, Don! Don! Paulie says, what is it? The guy says, she got away. Your daughter, she killed Percy. Paulie says, what? Did you see where she went? The guy says, we had a few Pirellos that went after her, but we don't know where the hell she is. Paulie looks pissed and says, all right, well, we hold off until we find her. We do not leave until we bring her back. Anyone finds her, bring her here, and then we get the hell out of here before any authorities come finding us. Let's go. Back with Alisa, we see Alisa hiding behind a tree. As we then see the thunder picking up. As we see lightning striking from a distance. As she has to be careful. As she then stays hidden behind the tree. As she then takes her shoe off. And she pulls the knife back out to protect herself. We see a few of the Pirellos are scattering all around the area. As she then looks nervous. As she walks up to one of them. As she sneaks up behind him, as she stabs him in the back of the neck, as she makes sure he can't make any noise, as she stealth kills this man, as she then takes his gun, she loads it very quickly and awkwardly. As we can see, she's never held a gun before. She looks rather scared as she loads the gun and tries to use it to protect herself. She comes out and shoots one of them in the throat as blood gushes out everywhere all over the ground. The other guys then start shooting at her as she then gets hit in the leg as she stumbles away. She tries running as fast as she can as these men chase after her. We see her run onto a piece of property as we see her stop to catch her breath. As an old man sees her then bleeding with a gun in her hand on his property. As he looks scared, as he pulls out his gun and he loads it as he says, what the hell are you doing on my property there, darling? You're Alisa Casher. Folks said that you died. Alisa looks nervous and says, Hey, no, it's okay. Just let me hide out here, please. There's some very bad people coming after me, and I don't know how close they are. If you just let me hide, I'll be gone right after, okay? Just until they pass, okay? I promise. The man then says, yeah, well, you would make me an accomplice, darling. I don't work with murders. You're going back to con college right now. He goes into his house as she hears him speaking on the phone as he says, yes, there's a woman here. She stepped out on my property. Her name is Alisa Casher. She threatened me, sir, with a gun. And she's waving it around, and I think she may have killed somebody. All right, please, you gotta get here now. Alisa then hears this as she looks angry, as she then hears the men running after her, as she keeps moving before anybody can find her, But now as we see, the cops know she's still alive. Back with Vito, we see them burning the dead bodies of Carlos and the remaining men that they killed. Marty sees Carlos burning to nothing as he says, "You think we can still be friends now?" "Yeah, I didn't think so, asshole." As Vito then says, "Okay, you all know the plan, right? We get Alisa, we take care of the rest. We don't leave until the job's done, alright?" Dario says, "Y'all heard him, let's go." Back at Polly's mansion, Tanya is looking at the guard Alisa killed as she says, "I mean, how could she do something like this? Just unreal. Can someone please get in contact with Carlos? He needs to be here for this." We see Vito and the others riding in multiple vehicles. As they drive in, as Vito then shoots two of the guards at the gate. As they then light them up, Vito then drives in as they plow through the gates. They're driving in as the Pirellos start running in as they fire at them, as Marty and Johnny fire back. Stella then takes cover as she sees an old oil rig behind these men, as she pulls out her gun, as she aims and fires, but one of them doesn't hit properly. She fires again. A massive explosion goes off as several men at the entrance die. Vito then says, "Good work, Stella. Fan out. Find Alisa. Meet me back here in 15 minutes, okay? That's an order. Go!" We see Marty shoots two men as they push into the mansion. Paulie hears this as he says, "Go. That's definitely Mr. Casher himself. If it is him, injure him. Bring him to me." Vito and Harold move in as they're firing at the men down the hall. Marty and Dario are moving up the big stairs as more men fire down towards them from the second floor. Marty then gets shot in the shoulder as Dario says, "You okay?" Marty says, Yeah, I'm fine." He whispers to himself, "This is you getting me from beyond the grave, Carlos. Fucking asshole." Dario then says, "You good to keep moving?" Marty then says, "Yeah, I ain't stopping. Let's go." As they move up the stairs and keep going, Tanya and a few men circle around the mansion as she then says, "All right, push in. Let's go. Come on." Back with Alisa, we see her moving through the woods as we then see two men are left as she then sees they are about to find her as she then goes into the lake as she hides underwater to avoid them. As we then see her stay under the water as the men pass her by. Alisa gives it a few minutes as she raises her head out of the water, as she is looking freaked out, not knowing if it's safe or not. But she takes the risk, and she keeps moving. Flashback to 1948. We see Alisa walking down the road. As we see, she has a number written down on a piece of paper. She walks up to the door, but there's no answer. So she knocks, and there's no answer. She knocks again and says, "Mom, you here? Mom!" She decides to enter the house. As we can see, the door's unlocked. She walks into the living room to find her mother laying there on the couch, passed out with pills all over the table and multiple drinks next to them. Alisa looks ashamed seeing her mom like this as she says, "Mom, wake up. Mom, Mom, Her mom wakes up completely out of it as she says, Jane? Alisa says, Mom, I'm here. I'm so sorry, but I had to see you. Her mom looks afraid of her and backs up and says, You need to leave. You need to leave now, Alisa says. So you're still taking those pills? You're still drinking? Her mom says, You have no business in what I do. Where's your father? You're supposed to be gone. He promised that he would leave and that I would never see either of you again, Alisa says. I found my way out, okay? Look, I know it's a long story, but I couldn't stay there. I can't go into everything, but I had to get out of there. You have no idea what he was doing to me. You have no idea what he was doing to any of us. There are people down there that wanted him dead. I had to get out of there. I had no choice. You know the kind of things he was doing? You really are telling me you don't care? Christ, it makes sense. You let him take me anyway. The mom says, Well, what was I supposed to do? He fought to get full custody of you, and that's what he got. You can't be here, okay? If he sees you here, or if he knows you're around, then he'll probably kill me and you, or worse, Alisa says. No, listen. This is why I came to see you. I've changed, okay? I changed my name. I changed my ID. I changed everything about me. Okay, he can't track me, even if, and that's a big if, even if he thinks I'm dead, he wouldn't know it's me. I've changed who I am. A friend helped me do all of that, okay? A friend that helped me when I thought I was gonna run out of luck. Dad doesn't know I'm here, the mom says. Well, I can't know that for sure. Alisa says, Mom, please, just hear me out, okay? She goes over to the phone and she picks it up and stares her daughter down and says, I'm giving you 10 seconds to walk out of my house and leave. Don't you ever come back and put me in danger ever again. Alisa looks sad because her mother is too afraid to let her stay. As Alisa says, I'm sorry. She looks completely betrayed as she walks out of the house, as she starts walking down the road, as Alisa starts crying, as she now knows her real family has no hope left. Currently, 1952, Alisa whispers to herself, I'm gonna have to fucking kill him. As she walks off to kill the remaining men and her father as she keeps running. Back at the mansion, we see the blood everywhere. Bodies have fallen, as we then see our group going through the halls trying to find anybody else that may still be alive. We see some of the men pouring into Tanya and Carlos's home. They search around as one of the Pirellos then says, Okay, secure the building. We'll go get the prisoner. They walk downstairs as we see Todd sitting there in his wife and kids' blood, as the guy says, Come on. Get up, we're going. Todd then starts walking, but then, as he gets to the stairs, he just stops walking. The man points his gun towards him and says, Hey, I didn't say stop walking, keep moving. But then, Todd turns around and knocks the gun out of his hand as some shots are fired accidentally, as Todd then wraps his handcuffed hands around the guy's neck as he uses it to strangle him to the ground, as he uses the chains off of his handcuffs to strangle and kill this man, as he snaps the guy's neck afterwards. The other men then hear this as they run down the stairs in a hurry, as Todd loads the machine gun and fires it towards these men and picks them off as they run down the stairs, as he kills the rest of them. He grabs the handcuff keys and unlocks himself, as he then takes several guns and loads them, as he then gets ready to walk out the door and start killing everyone inside. But then, he sees the baby all alone in the corner, as he goes towards it, as he realizes he has to save it. As he grabs the baby and gets ready to walk out, as we hear a gun click. Tanya is standing there with a gun aimed towards him as she says, "Look at you, Todd, finally acting like a big boy." "Hand over the baby." Todd says, "You must think I'm fucking insane. After what you did, there's no fucking way I'm letting you anywhere near a child." Tanya looks pissed and says, "I don't think you realize I'm the only hope that child has to an actual legal guardian. Because the family I took him from, well, they're attacking this place right now. And they're killing my people. And I'm gonna have to leave this kid somewhere safe. Besides, my husband isn't home and I'd really like to know where he is. Now hand him over." He puts the baby down as she says, "That's good. Now turn over your weapon." He then fires at her as he shoots her in the chest as she falls back. She fires a few shots as he ducks, as he then takes the kid quickly as he runs the other way, as she starts shooting at him as he flees with the baby to save the kid from her and the Perellos. We see Harold and Vito walking through the mansion. We see blood everywhere as Vito says, "Go check on the others in the rooms." Harold says, "You got it, Pops." Vito then moves into the restaurant as he sees it's fully dark and closed. He moves in, looking around as he sees meals have been eaten. As he can now see, he scared people in here. Vito looks guilty of his decision that he's made. Out of nowhere, he gets knocked down to the ground as he hears Paulie says, "This shit has gotten old, Vito. Quite frankly, I'm sick of it." He gets knocked down again. Vito is trying to get up as Paulie walks over and grabs a sword from behind the counter as Vito is stepping away as Paulie says, "You know, my father used this sword in the Great World War, killed many people with it. I feel he'd be happy to know that it's still being used to this day." He swings at Vito as Vito then tries to duck every shot as he punches Paulie as Paulie's nose starts bleeding, as he then smiles and says, "You know Jane got away? It's true. She's not as easy to hang on to as I thought she would have been, because she doesn't want this life. She never did. I gave her a life. I let her be who she wanted to be up until things went bad, and I never lost faith in her, even when they fucking did. I knew she hadn't done anything wrong. Not what like you made her feel all the fucking time. You're the fucking monster that raised someone that you tried to become like you. But I came in just in the nick of time, didn't I?" Paulie then looks angry as he pushes Vito out the window as they both roll down this hill, as they then fall to the ground. We see them fighting in this field outside of the mansion as Vito then punches him multiple times as he says, "You ruined my family. Or you tried to anyway. But all you ended up losing was every fucking thing you had. I killed Carlos. I killed him real fast too, but not before he felt every fucking piece of pain in his body. And now you're gonna die alone. No daughter, no right hand, no people." Paulie says, "Like you're not? You're already alone. That's why you had to adopt those two kids of yours, because you couldn't face being alone, so you went through the motions. Every day, fly by night, until you finally thought to yourself that you were actually happy." Paulie and Vito stand up, both looking beat up, as they then hear police sirens coming from far, as Paulie says, "I guess it's over for both of us." Vito says, "No, only for you." He pulls out his gun and shoots Paulie in the chest multiple times, as Paulie then falls off a cliff, as Vito sees him fall as he stands there, as he throws his gun away, as he runs in to get his people out before the cops show up. He then sees all of the Cashers are standing there as they all saw this happen from far. Vito then says, "It's over." They look on edge as they hear the sirens coming, as Harold thinks fast and says, "You all go. Take the van and leave now. I'll stay back and keep them busy. Tell them I was in the area and that I thought I could help. It's better for them to see me than you. Go, all of you now. I can cover this up." Vito says, "You heard him. We got no choice. We gotta go." As they all quickly get in the van, as Vito rolls down the window and looks at his son as he says, "I was wrong about you, son. You're a Casher. You always were." As they drive off, as Harold then stays behind and lets them go. Back with Alisa, we see her sneaking around as she then walks up to the last two guys, as she then points guns at both of them, as she then says, "Drop them." The man actually listens to her and puts their guns down, as one says, "You're going back right now." "Paulie's orders." Alisa says, "You're obviously blind. You don't see that smoke up in the sky?" "My family came back for me, which means I'm going home. You could have just stopped looking for me. You know, for a long time, I always thought to myself that it was all my fault. All of this. But I learned something tonight. Self-defense is never your fault and shouldn't be apologized for." She shoots and kills both of them as they go down and bleed out, as she stands over their dead bodies, as she says, "Say goodbye to Jane Perello." Flashback to 1948. We see Alisa sitting in a bar, drinking heavily. We see she's had several drinks by this point, as she's talking to the bartender, as she says, "So that's when I knew Nashville was my town. I mean, the food just is so good and people are so nice. Aren't the people nice? Yeah, well, my mother and father, though, they don't think anything of me. They want nothing to do with me. Well, one of them does at least, but no, it doesn't matter." The bartender says, "Yeah, okay. I'm cutting you off there, lady, okay? Did you drive here?" Alisa says, "No. What would make you think that?" The man says, "Okay, well, I'll call you a cab. All right, at least, please?" Alisa says, No, I'm fine on my own, thank you, I'm fine." She grabs her coat as she leaves and storms out. We see Alisa walking in the rain as she's just talking to herself. "I know, Mom, I made mistakes. I wasn't the daughter you wanted me to be, but I can do more than you know. I know more than that. Maybe you don't know that. Maybe you don't. Maybe you know that." We see she's been walking for a while, as she then stops to hear something going on in the back of an alleyway. She sees from a distance these two men in black masks beating up on a woman and taking her money. Alisa thinks nothing of this at first, but she then sees the woman is her mother. She looks angry as she pulls out a knife from her boot, as we then see. Earlier, Vito says, "Here, take this knife. If you're going out, I need you to have something to protect yourself with, just in case anything goes wrong. Although don't use it unless, of course, it's necessary. You understand?" Alisa nods and says, "Only if necessary. Got it." Later, she pulls out this knife as she hides it for now as she walks up to the men and says, "Hey, get off her." One of the men then pushes Alisa to the ground as we see her head is bleeding now, as the guy says, "Run along, lady. This doesn't concern you. Unless, of course, you want it to concern you. A man doesn't stop until his toll is paid." Alisa looks angry, and in defense of her mother, she pushes this guy to the ground as the other guy then tries to pull a weapon on her, as she then uses her knife to stab this man repeatedly over and over and over again. As she continues to stab this man, the blood goes everywhere. As the other man sees her killing his friend, as he then runs away in a panic, her mother then sees her do this as she says, "Get away from me! Get away!" Alisa says, "Mom, it's okay, we can go now." But as we see, her mom looks genuinely afraid of her daughter. As we hear the police sirens at the end of the alleyway, as we see them get out of their car, as they say, "Stop right there! Hands in the air!" As Alisa stands there with the police lights pointed towards her, as she puts her hands up and surrenders. Currently, we see Alisa standing over the two dead bodies of the men she killed, as her hands are covered in blood, as she looks at peace, as she then hears a gun click, as we hear, "Hands up. Turn around slow. Put the fucking gun down and turn around." Alisa turns around to then see Harold standing there with a gun in his hand, as he looks shocked to see it's her. As he looks shocked to see his sister standing there with two dead bodies and blood all over her. As he keeps his gun pointed towards her, as he looks scared. As we see police lights driving up to them, as all of the cops get out, as they point their guns towards Alisa, as Harold looks at his sister, as he doesn't know what to do. As we see time going by, we see Tanya getting into a car and driving off, looking worried, as we see her bullet wound is bleeding badly, as we see she's starting to turn pale. We see Todd walking on the back roads with the baby in his arms, as he walks off, not knowing where to go next. As Alisa stands there with her hands up and the cops surrounding her, Harold stands there as he clicks his gun. Later on, we see Vito, Dario, Johnny, Stella, Marty, and the others driving into an old restaurant. They park as Johnny says, "Don, we've been driving around for hours. Where the hell are we going?" Vito says, "We're just staying out of town for maybe a couple days, alright? We gotta make sure this whole thing doesn't fall on us. Harold's good, but we can't be 100% sure that they won't find anything, so we're staying out of it for now. So for a few days, we're gonna stay out here. Then, when things eventually blow over, we'll head back. Like things were." Stella says, "No, that's smart. Well, since we're here, I'm gonna go in and get some food. Who's with me?" As they all go into the restaurant, as Vito then decides to hang back and says, "You all go. I'm gonna make a phone call real quick back home. Let them know we're all here." We then see Vito walking up to the phone booth as he makes a phone call. We see everybody inside, eating at a few tables in the restaurant, as they all look slightly worried, as Marty says, "I gotta get home to my wife. She probably thinks I'm dead for Christ's sake." Dario says, Nah, don't worry. You'll see her again, don't worry. This'll all blow over in a few days, alright? We just gotta let everything simmer for now. Johnny says, "Christ, you'll be in debt to her by the time you get back to old Mrs. there, won't you?" Marty laughs and says, Yeah, I'll have to give her the good old lovin' again when I get back. Johnny says, "Damn straight you will." Well, you know what they say. A man doesn't stop until his toll is paid.
Is it a warning?
As Johnny then
Is it an
smiles.
evil sign? Is it a people who are
Vito
lost
is on the
their
phone with
mind?
Silo as he says,
Is it the
"Yeah, we should be
darkness?
coming back by maybe the day after tomorrow,
Is it a
okay?
man
Alright.
design?
Alright, yeah.
Is it a
You stay
best
safe.
friend?
Yeah, you too. Bye."
Even you?
He hangs up as he stands there and lights a smoke. As we see a man in a car drives up to him as he says, "Hey man, you know where King Street is? I'm completely lost as shit, man. I got a wife that's probably wondering where the hell I am. I really have no idea. Can you help me find it?" Vito then says, "Sorry man, I'm not really from around here. I'm not really the guy you're looking for." The man says, "Hey look, it's all good." He starts driving away as he then says, "Oh hey, you're Vito Casher, right?" Vito says, "Yeah, that's right." The man shoots Vito in the chest multiple times as Vito falls back to the ground. The man then speeds off in his car and drives away as Vito lays there on the ground, bleeding out, as he lays there and says, "What fucking irony."
And there she goes. So run, you'll see me run. 'Cause Billy's got himself a gun. And you're right to be afraid they'll send you to your grave 'cause you're strange and new. So run, you'll see me run. 'Cause Billy's got himself a gun. And you're right to be afraid they'll send you to your grave 'cause you're strange and new. And if I
We see Polly in the water as we see his eyes open. As we see 3 police officers spot him as Polly starts getting up, looking very hurt. As the officer says, "We found something." The other cop says, "Oh my God, that's Polly Perillo." All right, let's bring him in. We see Todd walking the roads. The baby starts crying as he says, Hey. You alright? You're alright? I'll try finding something soon, okay? You might be all I have left, little guy. I guess we should probably give you a name. You know, me and my wife are gonna have a 3rd kid. I even had a name picked out and everything. Well, she did. I wasn't really giving it all that much thought at the time, but she did have one. So, you little guy, are Casey. Revealing Casey from London is the little kid. Todd keeps walking, but then We see a few men in cowboy hats light torches up and surround him from every direction in the woods. Todd looks scared as he says, "Hey, I'm all alone here. Please, whatever you do, do not send me back there. I'm not going back, you hear me? I'm not fucking going back." We then see a man walks out of the woods as he says, "Boy, these roads don't take kindly to strangers, do they?" The man holsters his gun as he says, "I'm sorry we spooked you, sir. We're looking for the Cashers. You have any idea where they may be?"